Hi, everyone. I'm here with Ruth Spiro. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
I am so excited to talk to you about your new upcoming book, How to Explain Coding to a Grown-Up. So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
What inspired this new series?
Actually, this series was inspired by the many educators, librarians, and parents who absolutely love this board book series and shared it with their youngest listeners and readers, but they liked the content, but they felt that they couldn't really bring it into their kindergarten or first or second grade classroom because of that one word baby, that some older kids thought that even though the material is kind of complex, they just felt like this was a baby book and it wasn't for them. So we had the great idea to start a picture book series just for this age group.
Love that. Was it any different writing a picture book from a board book?
Yes, it was quite different. Now, I do have a lot of experience writing other picture books. And the difference is that when I'm writing a board book, I have to take the information and distill it down to the very most important parts of that topic. And I also need to consider the fact that it's really for very young children. So, what I do is I take something that they would be very familiar with, such as watching a bird fly. And I sort of pull back the curtain and explain what the science is behind something that a very small child would be familiar with. Because really, everything around us can be explained by science, right? When we see a bird fly, it's not magic, it's science. But these books are only 10 spreads and they're very short. So I had to pick out only the most important aspects. But with a picture book, you have a lot more room to explore the topic and play around with it and add some fun elements and more humor that an older child will understand. And we have some really fun diagrams, and it almost has like a graphic feel to it. It's not just straight text. And I think this is great because a picture book will be read to a child, but there will also be some kids that will be starting to read and trying to read this on their own. And I feel like when you have these small little parts of text that are broken up, it's a lot easier for them and they can follow along with the pictures and figure out what's happening as well. And we also have a glossary with information about the different words that they may not be familiar with. And I always like to send kids off with something to do after they read the book. And so this asks them to look around their home and their neighborhood and see how many computers they can find. And computers come in some very surprising places. And so this hopefully will inspire them to look around and notice all of the places where computers are being used that they might not have thought about previously. So there's a lot more that goes into this, and my research folder went from this thick to this thick. But I think kids will really enjoy this, and parents too, and educators, because there's some stuff in here that I didn't know before I started doing the research. And I do hear that adults like learning along with the kids. So I think this will be a fun next step.
In your research, so you worked with a coding expert. Her name is Allison. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
How was it working together and making the science more accessible?
It was so much fun. Allison is a longtime friend of mine, and she's a software engineer, and she's been working in the field for more than 30 years, I think. I can do a ton of research, but when somebody who does this for their life's work looks at it, they might see other nuances and things that, like, oh, you might want to add a little bit about this, or, change this a little bit. And there's actually some examples of code in here which she wrote for us. And she even ran the code through her computer to make sure that everything would work properly. So she's very detail oriented, and she did a fantastic job in filling in some of the holes in my knowledge that there might have been, and also just confirming that everything in here was completely accurate, both the text and the illustrations. And that's something that's very, very important to us, both with the board books and the picture books. We always have an expert that reviews the text and the art to make sure that everything is completely accurate, because our kids deserve that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it was really fun to work with her because she's a friend, but she's also really, really good at what she does.
Well, that is so exciting, and I'm so glad that you have started this series, and I have to ask, what's next?
Well, there will be, as of now, 4 books in this series. I am not going to reveal the exact topics, so stay tuned. But this one comes out in the fall of 23. There's more coming out in 24, and you'll just have to stay tuned and check in on our socials because we will be revealing those topics really soon. But for now, this is the most exciting thing that I have had happen in a very long time.
Well, that's awesome. Fine, keep me on the edge of my seat. But I am, again, so excited for How to Explain Coding to a Grown-Up, which comes out October 10th, and I am definitely buying this because I cannot wait to have my niece teach me how to code.
I'll sign it for her.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.